What the heck? This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. This comes from a Reddit user. I was getting married in a small village church. The bride and groom were childhood sweethearts. They grew up together, had their first kiss as teenagers, the whole 9 yards. The bride was the most beautiful girl in town, and the groom was a lucky man. On the day of the wedding, the bride was so happy. She had found the love of her life, and they were going to spend the rest of their lives together. As the wedding began, the bride walked down the aisle with her father. She looked stunning in her white dress and veil. The groom couldn't take his eyes off her. When it was time for the ceremony, the priest began to speak. He told the couple that in sickness and in health, they should remain faithful to each other until death do them part. The bride and groom repeated their vows. They exchanged rings, and the priest declared them man and wife. The bride and groom then lifted the veil to kiss. But when the groom lifted the veil, he was met with the most disgusting sight imaginable. Underneath the white veil was a rotting corpse. The bride's face was pale and gray, her eyes were wide and soulless, and her mouth was open in a silent scream. The groom screamed and fell back. The bride's corpse fell to the ground with a thud. Everyone was shocked and confused. What had just happened? How could the bride be dead? The groom quickly composed himself. He knew that he had to be strong for the sake of his friends and family, who were all staring at him with a mixture of horror and pity. He picked up the bride's corpse and carried her out of the church. He laid her to rest in the nearby cemetery. As the days went by, the groom couldn't stop thinking about the bride's corpse. He had loved her so much, but how could she have died on their wedding day? Was it poison? Was it a curse? The groom didn't know. One day, he decided to visit the cemetery. He wanted to see the bride's grave and maybe find some answers. As he approached the grave, he noticed that it was covered in flowers. The groom was touched by this. He knew that people felt sorry for him, but he didn't want their pity. He wanted answers. That's when he heard a voice. It was the bride's voice. She was asking for revenge. The groom was scared, but he knew that he had to be brave. He confronted the bride's ghost and demanded answers. The bride's ghost told him that she had been killed on this day years ago. She was the previous bride who had been set to marry a man she didn't love. On the day of the wedding, she ran away. She was chased by her angry fiancé and his men. They caught her and brought her back to the church. They beat her and dragged her body to the altar. That's where the groom found her. The bride's ghost then disappeared. The groom was left alone in the cemetery. He was devastated, but he knew that he had to move on. He couldn't let the bride's ghost continue to haunt him. The groom returned to the village. He told everyone what had happened. The villagers were shocked and horrified. They had no idea that such a tragedy had occurred in their town. They vowed to find the killer. Years passed, but the killer was never found. The groom never forgot the bride. He visited her grave often, and eventually he died and was buried next to her.